Operations and Safety Committee meeting. I am Melanie Williams, Chair of the Operations and Safety Committee meeting. And the meeting format is hybrid. Quorum is physically present at the HART Administrative Office, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. Please look at the screens of your devices. An image of the flag is displayed. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to public comments. Do we have anyone requesting to speak at this time? Thank you. This concludes the input section of public comments. We'll move on to the approval of meeting minutes. In the packet are the minutes from the May 20th, 2024 Operations and Safety Committee meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion is passed. I'll back up. Ms. Jackson, would you please take roll for us?
Yes, ma'am. Committee Member Henderson?
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Committee Member King?
Present.
Committee Member Knight?
Present.
Committee Member Schisler?
Here.
Committee Chair Williams?
Here.
You do have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, moving to section 4, presentations. We have the Operations and Maintenance Monthly Metrics Report for May, June, and July 2024. Mr. Sean McCarthy, I'll hand it over to you, our Chief Operations Officer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just drawing your attention to ridership by mode statistics for the last quarter. Ridership has held fairly steady at roughly 1.1 million a month average. We did see a slight drop off in June across the board. Some reasons for this are summer vacation season and the fact that there were 5 Sundays in June, which typically is representative of less ridership. So the fixed route bus ridership, again, trends are pretty consistent with the exception of June, which was about 50 to 60,000 less. Again, reasons have been cited. Weekday ridership continues to be pretty consistent across the quarter, with the main routes being the 6, the 1, the 34, the 400, and either the 12 or the 39. For OTP for those routes, we continued in May to struggle a bit, but made significant progress in June and July towards our fixed route OTP goal of 77% on the Route 6, which is our highest ridership route. We've done better almost across the board in June and July on the 34 and the 400 as well. The Route 1, we still struggle to meet our OTP goal there, and operations continues to meet with planning and schedules to look at strategies to improve that. Next slide essentially validates what I just said, talks about ridership across the top 5 routes and the corresponding OTP. On-time performance across the 3 modes, streetcar and paratransit continue to operate, dare I say, almost flawlessly at 99%. And we had a spike in June and July up to 74 for fixed route. This is still shy of our goal of 77%. On this final slide here, shows the amount of trips that we're completing. Across the quarter, we're completing almost 100% of our trips, which is really quite remarkable. I've honestly never seen that anywhere before, but it's not without impact, both to the operating budget in terms of overtime, and the fact that our employees are working a lot of hours. So we continue. We've tried very diligently through the negotiation process to try to improve absenteeism and the drivers behind that, so we can hopefully reduce the amount of overall hours that employees are working. Barring any questions, I'm going to turn it over to maintenance. Okay.
Good afternoon, Nicholas Goldburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance. I'll be presenting your May, June, and July volumetrics trends for fleet maintenance. Flex route vehicle availability, our goal is to have 80% of the buses available for peak services. For the month of May, we had 78% as our fleet availability. In June, we were at 81%, and July, we were at 80%. Scheduled safety inspections. Our goal is to inspect every bus every 6,000 miles with an 80% on-time compliance. For this quarter, we had a on-time compliance of 90%. May, we were at 97. June, we were at 97.56, and then we declined in July to 78%. July, we did 29 more inspections than we normally do, which is the highest total we've inspected since March of 2022. We had in June, 80%, 80 on-time inspections, and in July, we had 87, with 24 being late. System reliability, our goal is to drive 15,000 miles between major mechanical failures. For the month of May, we drove 10,335 miles, and in June, we drove 9,425 miles. We did increase back in July to 10,895, and I did want to add that the summertime is the most demanding time for owned vehicles. We went from an average of 3 to 4 climate control complaints each month to last month at 35. And I do want to add, any questions? Dale?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. Dale Smith, Director of Facilities. I want to present the quarterly update for the Facilities Department. We'll start out with the shelter maintenance for May. We had 149 preventive maintenance work orders completed, 203 of demand response. June was at 88 on preventive maintenance and 254 in demand response. And July, 92 preventive maintenance with 197 demand response. In the Facility Maintenance Department, our PMs, we did 149 in May with 54 demand requests completed. June was 92 preventive maintenance requests with 44 demand requests completed. And July was 161 preventive maintenance requests and 38 demand response. Some of the facility maintenance projects we completed in this quarter, the CDL regulations changed, and we had a CDL training course out at the Yukon Transit Center. And so we seal coated that parking lot and repainted all the striping. And we were actually able to put 2 CDL training lots in the Yukon Transit Center now. So we actually have 2 training courses that meet the new specs that are ready for training to use. Over the last quarter, we took a paint booth that we were using. It was unserviceable. It was no longer being used. So we went ahead and removed the paint booth. We painted the bay. We put some new lighting in there. And then we installed a fall protection scaffolding. This met the Code of Federal Regulations 29 CFR 1926.501 B2, so that any work we're doing on top of a bus, we have a scaffolding there that meets the safety regulations for our staff. Also, we restriped, we needed to add an additional out-of-service lane at 21st Avenue, so we restriped the first three lanes. Those lanes are used for any vehicles that have defects or out of service. And the lane E3, that'll be used for fare box issues. So we went ahead and restriped all three lanes to increase the visibility at night for the drivers. And we also conducted our annual facility spill drill. The facilities department, fleet maintenance, inventory, and safety all got together in a classroom, and we worked through 10 different scenarios for safety and kind of just walked through what we would do with these 10 different scenarios. After the classroom, we went out and actually practiced an actual spill drill. We went to the unleaded fuel tank, and we went through two scenarios, one of where a fill truck busted a hose, another was where the tank was leaking low. We kind of went through our drill. We actually went and brought out spill material and practiced simulating an actual spill drill, which was really good to test our procedures and make sure they were all working well. And to implement with our staff exactly, because if you have an emergency situation, you have to respond to it at the last minute. It's difficult if you haven't practiced it. So we try to have muscle memory and have the folks responding to our procedures. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Campbell. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Directors. My name is Richard Campbell. I'm the Chief Safety Officer, and I'll be reporting the safety metrics for May, June, and July. So fixed route injuries for the month of May, June, and July. In May, we had no fixed route injuries. In June, we had a slight little uptick to 0.57, which is still under our 1.0 per 100,000 revenue miles. And that is a self-imposed regulation based on the PTASP for our Public Transit Agency Safety Plan. And then for the month of July, we had a sharp decline at 0.18. Our fixed route safety for the same month of May, June, and July, we were at a 0.36 for May, a 0.57 for June, and I'm happy to report that in July we did not have any events. Fixed route safety report for May, June, and July as well. Fixed route, we had 0 injuries report, 2 safety events, 1 assault for May, 3 injuries reported, 3 safety events, and 2 assaults for the month of June, and 0 reports for July for fixed route. For paratransit, we had 0 for May, we had 0 for June, and we had 0 for July. Moving on to streetcar. Streetcar as well, for the month of May, we had 0 safety events, injuries, or assaults to report. The same for June, and the same for July. Moving on to preventable and non-preventable accidents for the months of May, June, and July. We had 4 preventable incidental accidents, 3 preventable accidents, 20 non-preventable accidents for the month of May. For the month of June, we had 3 preventable incidental accidents, 8 preventable accidents, 19 non-preventable accidents. And for the month of July, 2 preventable incidentals, 6 preventable accidents, and 14 non-preventable accidents. Any questions?
We'll open up for questions at this time.
Till that last slide, you look like you were bored all summer.
Not at all. Thank you.
Good report, good report.
Thank you. I just want, no accidents? Was that
Nothing.
April, May, April, May, and June?
No, the safety events. The
Okay.
safety events.
Let me go back. I thought I saw a document. Well, the number of hours you're on the road with the number of technicians, or, excuse me, I call them technicians, bus drivers, operators, and the hours they work and so forth, and to see the safety numbers, that's very good, very, very good. So they take pride and they make sure to take the extra steps to be safe and so forth, and that certainly is indicative of the numbers that we see here, so.
It is a
Good
testament
job.
to the quality of operators we have.
Exactly, so thank you. Any other questions, any comments?
Good stuff.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 4B, HART Plus Paratransit Service. Mr. McCarthy, I'll hand it over to you again.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So this is an informational presentation at the request of CEO Drainville. Our feeling is paratransit sometimes gets a little bit forgotten. It's kind of considered bus op's little brother, so we just want to make sure that the committee's aware that it continues to grow quite rapidly. So we have two forms of paratransit. I won't go through all the particulars, but HART Plus is essentially a scheduled paratransit service. You look at some of the particulars there. And essentially, your eligibility is based on a disability, physical, cognitive, emotional, visual, or other disability that prevents you from using the fixed route system. Our other service is customer choice, and really one of the reasons, the drivers for this presentation. Customer choice program is an outsourced part of our paratransit program, an agreement that we have with an entity called West Coast Transportation, or Yellow Cab, who also uses Uber as a subcontractor. But they are growing at an extremely rapid rate. We're up almost 300% over fiscal year in cost associated with Yellow Cab. So the eligibility process, right now we've got 4,414 total customers subscribed, with another 1,621 applications pending. So as I said, it continues to grow. It's a very robust service. Disability alone does not make you qualified for para. You have to meet certain criteria. And essentially, the main criteria is that you are somehow prohibited from using the fixed route system. So our on-time performance for paratransit is actually excellent. Our pickup and drop-off, as well as Yellow Cab's performance. The table on the left, you'll see the upper graph shows that our HART Plus ridership stagnates a little, but is generally consistent at around 15,000, 15,500 a month. What I'd like to draw your attention to is the FY24 monthly averages for Yellow Cab. So year over year, we're at almost 4,000 more riders. So you can see how that is growing. These are some of the reasons that folks utilize paratransit. Pretty much what you would expect, I would think, medical appointments and such being the top of the list. The fifth category down is something I draw your attention to because it's one thing we are seeing is more and more students utilizing HART Plus, which is really a growing part of our constituency that heretofore was not as robust as it currently is. And to that, if you notice, interestingly, pre-COVID, students were using HART Plus at almost slightly below the rate they are now. And if you notice, in 20 and 21, it took a substantial dip, and then in 2022, it started driving again and continues to drive. So this is something we're looking at and quite frankly try to understand a little bit better. To try to find out if there are some alternatives to potentially, guide these students to be able to utilize the fixed route system. Again, this reflects HART's growing ridership year over year. Yellow Cab's ridership year over year. The small shaded area at the bottom is their outsourced to Uber. So this will show you again for Yellow Cab cost per mile. Yellow Cab's cost per mile is actually significantly less than HART's. Yellow Cab has a cost per mile of about $25. Ours is almost double that. And there's a number of reasons for that, not the least of which are the wages, that we pay our operators as opposed to Yellow Cab. But it certainly begs the question, and one that I think that this board will need to discuss at some point, of what a contracted model looks like versus an in-house model. In December of 2023, we executed a contract with Yellow Cab for $4.7 million for 5 years, a 3-year base with 2 one-year options for $4.7. At the rate we're currently trending, that budget would have been expended in the second quarter of FY26. So far beyond when we thought that we thought it would last much longer, and we will be back to both you, Finance and Audit, and then the full board at some point looking to modify that arrangement. Another factor that is driving the growth is that in 2022, a decision was made to expand our ridership zone from the FTA required 3/4 of a mile to 1.5 miles. So you will see the growth obviously associated with that during those 2 years compared to the prior 2 years. As you could imagine, the community that paratransit serves was very happy with this, but again, it's not without impacts. Madam Chair, you saw at committee the other day that even though we go out to 1.5 miles, the committee would actually like us to expand even further. So, these again are conversations that are going to need to be had going forward. This slide just illustrates something that I think we all know, that, the population is increasing, the population of elders is increasing, and, ultimately the ridership and the constituency that takes advantage of paratransit, will continue to grow. Another challenge that we face related to paratransit is our fleet and the subsequent age of that fleet. FTA defines the useful life of a paratransit van at 5 years and 150,000 miles. We have over half of our fleet that is at that or has exceeded that. So as you know, back in June, board approved purchase of 14 paratransit vans, and the capital program reflects the purchase of another 19, hopefully, in FY25. But we're, when we talk about coverage zones and things of that nature, some of the indirect byproducts of that are more mileage on the vehicles, more wear and tear, and, an increased need for inspections and preventative maintenance and things of that nature. This slide just talks about some of the activities that have taken place relative to funding. As I said, we were fortunate to get funding to order 14 new cutaway vans in June. Just a couple of extra things for the committee's information. HART is currently in the process of interviewing candidates for a director of paratransit operations, a position that currently doesn't exist. To give more of a focused attention to that mode and kind of develop its own identity, for lack of a better word. And we've also just executed a contract with an industry expert consultant to provide professional services support as needed to give us guidance on things like eligibility and surface coverage area and things of that nature. So that we certainly don't run afoul of any FTA statutes or regulations. And that concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one comment. Regarding the extra or out of the,
Expanded coverage zone?
yeah, the expanded coverage zone. Hillsborough County does offer, I think they call it the blue line, and that covers the rest of the county theoretically. So I mean, most people don't even know that that exists outside of the county purview. But you know, HART's got the fixed route, then we've got a mile and a half, and then the blue line covers the rest of the county. So it is out there. It's just, I just don't know that it's ever properly advertised and so forth. I sit on I'm the HART representative to the Disadvantaged Transportation Coordinating Board, and it was quite, whoa, okay, I didn't know that was existed until you get involved with that. So unless you're involved with it, you're never going to hear about it. So
Right.
we need to,
And that was a comment that was brought up at the ADA committee this past week, that there are a lot of different things out there that have never been really packaged in a consolidated way that customers could really understand it, first and foremost, and then take advantage of it.
well, they have deck cards and pack cards. I hadn't put in Temple Terrace because we didn't know anything about it. And we just, we can spread the information, let everybody else know.
We don't want to it's too expensive, but we don't want to do this because we're afraid of what's going to be found, because we don't want to be on the hook. We don't know. But you want to know before it goes public, just so you can prepare yourself.
Councilmember Henderson, I believe you unmuted yourself.
I'm sorry.
That's all I had. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for the presentation. We will now move to our next presentation on a heavy maintenance facility. Mr. McCarthy, are you leading this one as well?
No, this is going to be presented by a representative from our project management office, Mr.
Okay.
Dan Rodriguez.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director, Mr. McCarthy. Dan Rodriguez, Project Manager, PMO Office. I'm going to do a quick update on the heavy maintenance facility. The pressure is on.
Come
So-
on, get it.
So I'm going to go through this real quick. Just back in April, we went over the master plan. Just so you know, since we're not fully funded, we're going with a phased approach. So the phase one is the following. It's pretty much the land acquisition. You'll see it in the yellow up there. It's the school board property adjacent to our campus. Also in phase one is the stormwater remediation, which is to include some refurbishment of several inlets on the east lot. Southeast driveway widening and gate replacement is badly needed in that corridor to help us with access. Conversion of an existing diesel tank to unleaded with some dispensers for van and non-revenue vehicles. Also, design and construction of a new service building, which includes the CNG, diesel, unleaded fueling, bus, and for non-revenue vehicles. That service building is in the center of the master plan. I just want to go over real quick the recent developments. We had since our last update, the National Environmental Policy Act document for our facility was updated and took into account several layouts of the facility, with the preferred alternative being the first choice. Once it was completed and we met with FTA, they pointed out that we needed to update our checklist, which we submitted, and of the preferred layout. It was submitted and it was approved last week, so that's a recent update. We also did some stormwater improvements on that east lot. We had some drains that were kind of sunken down and not operating at full potential to help with some of the drainage issues we're having. We were able to complete those. We had done a design for the southeastern gate to kind of widen it. The approach was when it was built, it was made to approach from only one side of the parking lot. So we're going to widen it so we can approach it from various angles and help us move vehicles around. We have an updated unleaded tank upgrade that we're looking to do. We have 4 diesel tanks on site. We don't utilize all of them. We're really in need of a larger capacity for unleaded fuel. We only have about 4,600 gallon tank right now. We kind of go through that pretty quickly on a daily basis. I know Nick has some some stress about that, so I'm going to try to help them out with that. We have a replacement of one of the diesel tanks to 12,000 gallons, and that'll swap out one of them and kind of utilize that same space. We have also a stormwater assessment that we completed, kind of went over all the studies that we had done with the city and as well as the, HART, to go over what other issues with stormwater can help our site. So that was kind of put together by our consultant. We're kind of going through that now. We also were required to do an appraisal of the county school board property next door, so we completed that as well. Real quick, next steps. Currently underway, like I mentioned, we have a solicitation that's going to go out for design for the new service building. So we need to design that. So that'll come out to the street, so that'll come to your attention and then to the board. We also have a construction. Like I said, with the unleaded tank upgrade, we did design it, we did permit it. So we'll be putting out something to have that constructed. The southeast gate also was designed and permitted, and that was approved. So we'll be putting out a task order to complete that upgrade for construction as well. With the NEPA approval, so we can open talks with our neighbor and see what we can facilitate as far as acquiring that property. Continued also is leadership continuing their efforts, as we saw from the presentation we had earlier today. Legislation still pushing the ask, which is really what we need to go through that phase 2. As far as future considerations, as the PM and as part of the team that helps kind of do some of these grant applications, and Holland and Knight hit it right on the head. We do need to get that local match locked down. We really need, those folks that are on our board and have to keep pushing to get as much local money as possible, whether it's from DOT, the county, the city, anywhere, to try to get that local match solid instead of how we're doing it now, where I'm taking pots of money from different places to try to meet that local match on our ask. Okay, and that's pretty much my update. I kind of went through it pretty fast. If you have any questions, please let me know. We will be having our continued updates in our board packets as we go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Any questions, comments? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 4D, our restroom and facility improvement program. Mr. Smith, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you again, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, Dale, just Madam Chair, before Dale starts, I just wanted to preface this by saying that this is in response to some concerns that have been raised recently by employees relative to some of the facilities, and Mr. Drainville's direct response to that.
Thank you.
All right, morning, Madam Chair. Committee members, Mr. McCarthy. Dale Smith again, Director of Facilities. Wanted to go over the restroom and facility improvement program and some of the things we've already put in place, some of the things we've done, and some of the things that we will be some of the challenges we face. The employee restrooms are located at 6 transit centers. These photos were current photos taken from the different employee restrooms located throughout the system. And when maintenance requests come in, the facilities department responds within 24 hours. That is always our goal. The biggest thing is to make sure that the requests come to us. We really want people to know that sending in a request to the facilities department through the help desk will get that problem resolved as soon as possible. As far as the public restrooms, these are the dates we actually open the public restrooms. We open them at Marion Transit Center, University Area Transit Center, and Net Park Transit Center. Those are our busiest locations. And each location has an attendant that operates restroom access 7 days a week from 7 to 11. We also have other safety measures in place. We've added steel doors. We have a security guard that is present at all times, and we have video cameras at these locations aimed at the restroom doors for patron safety. These are some of the current photos of some of the public restrooms we have in place. Some of the safety protocols we put in place, downtown at Marion Transit Center, we actually had someone go inside the restroom and they had overdosed and were laying on the floor. Our attendant actually went in the restroom after they were in there for a while, called 911. 911 came. They actually resuscitated the person and probably saved a life. So these safety protocols have been proven to work that we're putting in place, and we're trying to implement them at other restrooms as well. We do have 3 public restrooms that are currently not in service at this time. Some of the upgrades we've done, we've added new mirrors, new hand dryers, toilet accessories. We painted ceilings, we brightened them up with new lighting. And as I said earlier, the cameras aimed at the restroom entrance to provide that additional layer of security. Some of our challenges we face are graffiti, biohazards, vandalism, and loitering. We feel like a lot of those have been addressed with the safety implementations we put in place. Having a security guard present at the facility has been a tremendous assistance to us. Seeing a camera aimed right at the restroom doors, we make these large cameras so they're aimed at the door so everyone knows they're there. And the restroom attendant has been very helpful for people, giving them access to the restrooms. On the last slide, I'll turn it over to Mr. Campbell.
Good afternoon. Richard Campbell, Chief Safety Officer again. And so one of the things that, in talking with CEO Drainville, we implemented is facility safety inspections. So my team will periodically go out to these sites and look for things that, somebody may not normally look for. Making sure, the cameras are working, that there's not overgrowth of hedges that cause blind spots and stuff like that. So these are new measures that we have taken to implement these protocols. One of the things that we have addressed, I have addressed with the CEO that we, are very cognizant of, is it is very costly to have attendants, to have these facilities open for the whole span of hours. And so these are some of our challenges. If we have this many facilities and we're open for, 18 hours a day, it's a lot of, people hours. And with graffiti and vandalism and those kind of things, that also adds an additional cost. So we're balancing what we used to do in the past, where the bathrooms were just open for our whole span of service, but nobody was regulating it. And then people go in there, some people go in there and cause problems. So we have to implement these regulations, these standards to kind of maintain it for everybody. The few rotten apples spoil the bunch type of thing. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I want to make a comment that this did come up recently, and I appreciate the fact that you guys have addressed it right away. And the cleanliness of the stalls and the fact that you have people there. When I saw the 7 a.m. till 11 p.m., that is a long period of time to have someone covering the restrooms and so forth. So I appreciate that you responded very quickly to this issue. And we want bus drivers going and patrons alike to go into a restroom that's clean and safe. That's the most important part of all of this. So thank you for responding so quickly to the issue that was brought forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Director Knight, you're recognized.
Yes, and again, thanks for the update. But I was one of the first, and I still feel that, with the restrooms and the availability, not only for the employees but the customers as well, that all should be open and addressed and made safe. So whatever it take to do it, even if we got to look at some other ways. But I really appreciate the positive update. But I was very concerned about, and I wasn't aware until that last meeting that some were still closed. And then I think that they should be and can be open in whatever it takes to do it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Just for clarification, how many are still closed?
3. Northwest Yukon and West Tampa.
Okay, and is there a plan to open those restrooms?
We're trying to implement the different safety protocols that we had talked about. The construction has all been done. All the updates inside the restroom have been completed. So we're just waiting on cameras and a budget to have personnel man the restrooms and security personnel stationed at the locations.
Okay. And you are using employees from HART, or is that contractors or some other personnel to open the restrooms? That's not a question you have to answer now. I'm just asking what your process or your personnel may be. I don't, just let us know what the plan is.
I wanted to, if I may add for clarification, the restrooms that are closed to the public. The operators still have access to restrooms themselves.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Thank you for the presentation. Anyone else have any comments? Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to number 5, the information item. In your packets under the information item is a Q3 report on HART's achievements of the FY 2024 performance goals. This report is shared with the committee and the board on a quarterly basis. Do committee members have any comments, questions for staff? Okay. That concludes the regular business of the meeting. Do we have any old business at this time? Okay, any new business? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So you're not the Maytag repairman after all, huh? You got other stuff to do.